The Public Works Committee, Parks, Rec, and Railroad to order. First thing we need is a motion to approve the prior committee meeting.
For a motion.
Motion by Mr. Wild, seconded by Mrs. Frazier. Any discussion? Additions, deletions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Benway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First business I have is to accept a donation by Mr. Dan Lewis again this year. He donated us $5,000 to Up Yonder and also authorized a letter of thank you.
Okay, with somebody else, Mrs. Frazier, seconded by Mr. Wild. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The second one I have is for the Revolution Rail Company to rent the ticket sales building. I did check into different prices. They offered actually $10 a square foot, which was kind of expensive, so we listened to the supervisor here, and we decided to use the Resolution in 2009 for $25 a day for a total of $750.
Okay, would somebody like to move that? Supervisor Merlino, seconded by Supervisor Dickinson. Any discussion? Mr. Wild?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Does that cover our costs? Utilities?
They
anything
pay
else?
utilities.
They pay utilities.
Just rental of the building.
Any maintenance that we're responsible for other than general, making sure the roof's not leaking or anything like that?
General maintenance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are we ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The third one I have is to rescind the resolution for the trolley stop up to Beyond the Farm. We had Greater Glens Falls Transit come up, take a look. They said it wasn't viable. Said there was a lack of interest, but if someone ever had asked if they were stopping in the town of Bolton and wanted to go up yonder, they would just bring them up the hill.
Okay, would someone like to move that? Supervisor Dickinson, seconded by Supervisor Wild. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried.
Next is referral and the pending items regarding the Smart Growth Grant. Kevin and myself looked it up. It's not available until September, so we have no details. Once that comes out, we will, obviously research it more, and then they award and it comes out in spring, correct?
Correct.
In April. That's another few months out.
Okay. Thank you.
The next thing I have for you is the National Grid Pipeline Project. I also brought photos. They are complete as far as the installation part. They've repaved several sections for us. The actual right-of-way has been all topsoil and reseeded. The only part that they will have left is to actually hook into the distribution center right there at the corner. They don't do that until everything from point A to point B is locked up, and they're saying somewhere between September and October, and then it will be complete.
Okay.
I have photos going around of what they did. Actually, some of the right-of-ways is actually in better shape than what they took it from us. One whole city block from 6th Avenue to Hunter was paved, repaved I should say. Brand new surface, looks great. The very first photo or second photo, you'll see they've already hydro-seeded that area prior to, and we're already ready to mow it. So it came out very nice. The next one I have, actually I'll turn it over to Mr. Hajo, is the Warrensburg Bike Rally.
The bike rally was held in June, same time Americade is held. It's held up to the fairgrounds. We had Ed Zibro, who runs the bike rally, provide us with a letter that is attached on page 4 and 5 of the agenda. Basically what Ed has said is that the count showed that they had an 18% increase of vehicles this year. They had a total count for 2018 of 69,983 bikes, cars, and trucks. And basically he was saying that they've attributed the success of the rally because of the use of the fairgrounds, whereas it used to be, as some of you may know, on Route 9 in Warrensburg, and it just got too crowded. Bikes were out in the road, it was hard for people to turn around, hard for vendors to set up. But now that they have the use of the fairgrounds, it has done phenomenal since they've been up there.
What is that 70,000? Is that just the traffic coming into Warrensburg?
That's the traffic on Schroon River Road that we attribute, that's just outside the fairgrounds. They set up counters. We used to set them up for them in the beginning, and then they've taken it upon themselves to set them up.
How many days have they been to set up?
10 days.
Do we know what the normal traffic is for a week or 10 days in the summer?
I do have those counts, Supervisor Wild. I don't have them with me, but I can provide them to the committee. We do counts on all of our roads, mainly for our pavement evaluations and the type of traffic that we have on our roads. The next item on the agenda basically has to do with the railroad. Couple of different things to touch upon. The first would be, now that Saratoga North Creek will no longer be part of the railroad once the contract is completed at termination, I believe that's tomorrow. Tim and I have gone through basically what we would need for the funding for the rest of this year on the railroad. Tim and I came up with a budget of approximately, let's say about $70,000 to be used for the rest of this year on the railroad. But right now, he does not have any money in any codes for a budget for the railroad because it was all under Saratoga North Creek Railroad. Some of the items that we would need to fund is, and we threw numbers at it just to make sure that we were all set. Supplies, repair and maintenance of buildings and property, electricity, which we've just turned over all the utilities, or put all the utilities back in the county's name. They were all in Saratoga North Creek's name. Oil and gas heating for winter months, water, sewer taxes, insurance, which that's already been paid for this year for half the year, but we've added a little bit more money in the budget for that. And then we put in road and bridge materials and contracts. The contracts for this year are probably the more significant cost. They are the herbicide application, which is for 40 miles of track, and for Saratoga Engineering for the signal work along the railroad tracks. So I didn't bring a resolution because I'm sure it was going to generate some discussion, but I think we would need a resolution to amend the budget to include this funding in those codes for the rest of this year. And I see Supervisor Thomas is here. I don't know, I provided him this list last week. I'm not sure if he can add anything.
No, it looks, you have a railroad track that So is real contingency? Either contingency or fund balance? Probably fund balance.
Supervisor Wild?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kevin, and maybe a discussion with Mary also, but because there's no traffic on this line, where can we cut? And can we cut? And, maybe, Kevin, I should probably first refer this to Mary. We had special counsel that we have advising us in terms of how to deal with the contract and the situation, and we did speak about what we would do going forward if the contract was canceled. And I'm curious if we have any more feedback from this council in terms of what we can do, what we must do, so we can kind of talk a little bit smarter about the budget that Kevin's put together. And I don't know if you have anything you can share with us, or
Is this a discussion we should have in executive session, or is this a discussion we should... It's up to the committee. Are you talking about legal things that we can do, or are you talking just about signals and...
I'm not talking about legal action against Saratoga North Creek. I'm
Okay.
just talking about what our obligations are for this line, considering that there's no traffic any longer.
Well, I don't think we've talked about that, considering we don't know what the county wants to do moving forward. We don't know if they want to enter into another agreement with a different operator, or if they want to go a different direction. I think what we do with the line is going to dictate a lot of what we spend money on.
So I guess my question is, do we need to spend the $70,000, or can it be $30,000 this year, or 20 or 10, whatever it need to be, and do the minimal that we need to until we can make a determination about where we're going to go with this asset?
Right now, Supervisor Wild, this is just an estimated budget. It doesn't necessarily say we're going to spend the $70,000. I'm just putting, or asking to put money in these budget codes just in case we need to spend it. The $22,000 for water and sewer taxes, I think we would have to pay for the taxes on the railroad. The insurance, as I said, has already been paid for this year.
Okay.
I think that carries us to the end of the year. I added a contingency in there just in case there's anything else we may or may not need. The utilities we need right now for the signals, basically we already had an issue 2 or 3 weeks ago where the signal arms came down, National Grid shut them off. They will not turn them back on. We actually had to go out and have Saratoga North 3 go out, not Saratoga North 3, Saratoga Signals to go out and pin them up because there's no power to the signals right now. Now they've got them all put in our name.
So we have power going to them, but they're pinned up, so they're not operational?
No, only that one was pinned up at the time being so traffic could get through that area, and I believe that was the one on 28.
So with no traffic and the contract ending tomorrow, can we pin up all the rest?
You can't pin them up, I don't believe, until Saratoga North Street gets all their equipment out of here. They still need to have signals when they're riding their cars out of town.
So that's a cost we should bear, or Saratoga North Creek
We
should
have
bear?
we have a contract with Saratoga Signal just to maintain the signals at this point.
I guess what I'm getting at is just give some critical thought in terms of where we're going to be spending money this year. It wasn't planned, it wasn't budgeted, so this obviously impacts the budget. But let's give some thought in terms of what we really need to do, what would be nice to do, and kind of make that determination and maybe come back with us. But I'm not comfortable saying that we should add $70,000 to the budget right now.
And again, that's an estimated budget, and I'm not saying that we're going to use all $70,000.
Agreed.
In fact, I will come right out and say I don't think we will use all of that.
Okay, Mr. Chairman?
Just was that 70 annualized, or is that for the remaining 5 months?
That's for the remainder of this year.
But it includes some annualized expenses?
Yes.
Things that they paid, like taxes, like on an annualized basis?
Right.
And what would be the breakdown, those things that we would have done, I think we have to do on an annualized basis, as opposed to those things, what's your estimate now to the end of the year on those things that would be additional?
Let me see, I can run through it real quick. $2,600 for electricity, $2,000 for your oil and gas heating, so you're $4,600 there. Water, sewer taxes, $22,000 plus or minus, so you're at $26,600. Contracts are the big one. There's $16,000 for the herbicide application, and Saratoga Engineering for the signals. There's $14,000, so that's another $30,000 there. So now we can, and Tim and I spoke about this, we can forego doing this herbicide application, but it's only going to get worse for next year. It may cost us more to have it done next year if we don't get it done this year.
Well, obviously, the signals have to be maintained, especially if they're going to be moving it, and that's something that I think legality-wise, we could probably go after their contract that they've kind of walked out of, but it's kind of hard to get blood out of a stone. I do agree on the herbicide. Unfortunately, I hate to say it's a lot, but I mean, like I said, we have to control it because we don't know which way we're going to do it. If we decide to do it, move forward and use the line again, and next thing you know, we have trees growing up because we didn't take care of them when they were a lot smaller, then we're going to be in trouble. So it's kind of a catch-22 here. I hate to say, that's a lot of money, and I hate to take it out of contingency or anywhere due to the delinquency of the contract that we have. So really, I don't know what to say.
Well, I'd like to remind the committee that we're forwarding this to the Finance Committee, so there'll be another opportunity actually to speak about it even further at that committee. But we're here to forward that to that proper committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, what I'd like to do is have a conversation, if we can, about the future of this asset. If not today, sometime soon,
Go ahead.
because it's like we're going to kick the can.
No, we're going to have a conversation, we're going to have an executive session.
Okay? So
Momentarily.
can we postpone this discussion until we have that?
We can.
You just want to send it on, right?
We can, we just want to send this on to finance, and there'll be another time to discuss this. But I think, there's more information that you're gonna, none of this money is gonna be spent unless, it depends on what direction the county goes in. But at this point, there's certain things that have to be expended, because
Right?
there's
No, I
no
understand.
use.
Right.
Well,
This-
can we hear the future help, because I'm teeter-totter.
It's up to the committee if you want to wait and have our executive session first. I'm going to let, there's some people here that would like to speak at privilege of the floor, and then we'll go into an executive session, and I'll explain what for momentarily.
I'll make a motion to move this forward with the understanding that there'll be more discussion. Just why delay stuff, and why keep on going back and forth?
Hold on. Okay, discussion, Ms. Kramer?
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. My initial thought was, you said that in the beginning that you were not asking for a resolution today, and it's not in our packet.
I actually, Supervisor Raymer, I said I didn't bring a resolution because I wanted to have the discussion first. Not that I wasn't going to bring one, I just didn't bring one because I wanted to have the discussion and see where the committee wanted to go with it.
Do you have copies of the sheet that you can give us?
That I've done for my budget, I can send them out to you, yes.
One, I think we should have them in front of us, if we're going to move that today.
I can make copy, it's got writing on it, but I can have something to
Maybe
make a
the
copy
budget
of.
officer has a clean copy.
This will go on to, I'd like to remind everyone, this will go to finance, and there'll be another opportunity with these numbers on it, and
I said 70 grand, it was 6,600, just rounding the number.
So just clarity, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. If we approve this moving forward to finance, and finance approves it, that Kevin and Tim will come back to us before any expenditures are made?
still has to go to the full board, and then that transfer will have taken place after the full county board meeting.
And then they'll be able to, hey, it's in my budget, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to withdraw my motion until we get some more information.
Thank you.
Mr. Dickinson, you had seconded it. You also draw your second.
I think we're just kicking the can down the road. So, almost regardless of what we do, we're gonna have to take care of the railroad. That's a separate issue. I'll make a motion that we transfer the money.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Supervisor Merlino, any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain.
One abstention and one aye for opposed. Yeah, that. Okay. Anything else on your agenda?
I can finish the rest on the railroad unless you want to go into executive. It's just to discuss my conversation with Mike Kelly as well as...
Oh, no, go ahead, please.
Okay. I reached out to Mike Kelly, who has 2 cars, and I spoke about this at the board meeting, 2 cars still up on our track. He has an engine up there as well as a coach car. He had originally told me in an email that the earliest that he could get that equipment out of there, because there's some issues with the wheels and the flanges on the wheels, that the FRA will not allow it to be moved. The earliest he could do that would be November 1st. I told him that that was unacceptable and that the board would not accept that. He has yet to respond back to me. This was as of Friday I talked to him. He has yet to respond back to me to let me know what he's going to do. So I'm waiting to hear from him on moving the rest of his material out there.
He's had him there for a long time, right?
He's had him there.
He's known he's got moved.
He actually leased that equipment originally to Upper Hudson when they were there. And then, of course, when Upper Hudson left and started over North Creek, he worked out an agreement with them. We had actually kicked him, well, not necessarily kicked him off the track. We had actually terminated the lease agreement that we had with him back in 2012. And then he started a lease agreement with Saratoga North Creek when they came on board.
Chairman Conover?
I don't think we have any interest in having our lands and rails used as junkyard. I think that recommendation would be that formal let him go out from attorney and basically set the stage so that if we have to move on to step 2, 3, or we'll move to steps 2 and 3. That would be my recommendation.
Go ahead.
Well, my question is, on those, two railroad cars, since they have sat so long, did the wheels wear down by sitting?
The flanges on the wheels were worn down by Upper Hudson. That's why the cars ended up sitting. They didn't move them out of here back then. There was an agreement, apparently there was an agreement between Saratoga North Creek and Mr. Kelly to have Saratoga North Creek do the repairs on those, at the engine as well as that coach. They never did the repairs.
I tend to agree with Supervisor, what I call you Supervisor now, Conover? You know, let's not make this a sitting ground.
So is that a motion or?
I'll make a motion on that
I'll
one.
second that.
Any other discussion on motion? Call the question, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
The last thing I have for the rail is the gentleman up on the ground who's a subcontractor for Saratoga North Creek Railroad, his name's Jeff Hagan, has been working closely with me and sort of keeping me up to date day in and day out of what he's doing up there, what they're trying to accomplish. As I said at the board meeting, most of the equipment up there has some type of issue with it, whether it be wheels, chocks, whatever else that they may, I think it was brakes on the one he was telling me about they were working on yesterday. They've been slowly repairing these. I believe an engine was supposed to come up yesterday. I don't know that it necessarily did. He has told me that all the hopper cars that are above North Creek will be taken out of here as of Friday. Supervisor Hogan has asked me to have the parking lot at the rail station completely cleaned out on Friday. Jeff has informed me that he will clean that out as of Friday. There will be nothing sitting there. He's hauling a lot of the equipment out of there and putting it on the cars that he can. The rest of it he will at least store over by the engine house until he can get it out of here. So that's where they're at. He hasn't given me a date on when they'll have everything out, but they're moving in that direction.
Supervisor Hogan?
It's been our observation that he comes in around 7 p.m. and leaves around 10 p.m. At 3 hours a day, I'm not having a lot of confidence that this is going to be a swift process. So in light of that, I would really like to see the work plan with deadlines.
Can I make a resolution on that?
Make a motion
Make a motion,
to,
have a work plan and a schedule?
I don't think we need a full
You don't need it.
authority on
I
that.
don't need that? All right. Just trying to keep the pressure on.
okay, is there any other discussion on that? Okay. Are you done with this section? Okay. Privilege of the floor. I think we have, I was thinking they have them speak first.
Why don't we do executive first?
Okay,
Okay.
under advisement from our attorney, we need to have our executive session first. And after we come out of executive session, I'll hold the public comment. We need to have an executive session first.
He's the chairman.
Is that the...
The executive session, so
That's the attorney?
we need to go into executive session to discuss the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease, I left my glasses in my truck, of real property.
Move it.
Supervisor Dickinson, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I'd like to let everyone know that there was no action taken in executive session. And so with that, if there's nothing further from the committee, I will open it up to privilege of the floor. Would you guys...
Hi, my name is, I'm sorry, would you?
Would you want to go to the podium, please?
Sure. Good afternoon, thank you for your time. My name is Scott McLean. I'm one of the owners of Stony Creek Ranch Resort. This is actually my mother right here, Carol. We have purchased the ranch almost about 3 years ago. We purchased it at auction. It used to be called the 1,000 Acres Ranch Resort. I'm sure you all have a connection with it, know the history behind it. What first attracted me to the ranch, I have to say, I've been traveling the area, the region for 3 to 4 years looking for a property to purchase in order to develop it, originally as a summer camp. When I found 1,000 Acres, I absolutely fell in love with it, as I'm sure most of you have and seen it and have experiences with it. The way I was able to present it to my investors, to be able to get them to invest into the property and to be able to start getting it renovated and start getting tourism back to the area, was due to the train station and its access to the train lines. This made it a unique property compared to anywhere else and anything we had seen over the past 3 to 4 years of looking at properties that we had found. As I explained to the bank and to my investors the possibilities involved with it, they agreed that this would be a very good investment. We originally reached out to Iowa Pacific. At the time, I'll be honest with you, I was a little unaware of their financial position or their business model, with the idea of being in partnership. We continued to work together, and last year we had spoken about partnering up to bring the Polar Express from Saratoga Springs to Stony Creek. We have been working on it for months. Though contracts had been delayed, we were finally, in the last few weeks, got the go-ahead from all parties to move it from Saratoga Springs up here to Warren County. However, at the last minute, as I understood, there was a financial issue between Saratoga North Creek and Rail Experiences, which is under Warner Brothers, who owns the right to Polar Express. Last minute, we changed what was going to be the Polar Express to train to Christmastown. Despite the fact that we had only 2 weeks to put this together in, despite the fact that we did not have the budget or the known property that we had before, we were still able to attract, we estimate with ticket sales, about 10,000 people to the ranch who had never been there before. Again, this is with 2 weeks of putting this together, with very little advertising, with a property that is unknown. When I talked to Warner Brothers, because when I discovered that Iowa Pacific had not been able to meet their financial obligations to them on previous use of royalties, I asked if Warner Brothers had any other options, if I could work with them directly. He said as long as Iowa Pacific was running on those lines, they would have no desire to work and provide their intellectual property for it. So come April, when the news got out that Iowa Pacific was no longer with that rail, I got a phone call from Warner Brothers saying, we would like to discuss with you, now that that company is no longer part of that train, on those train tracks, the possibility of bringing Polar Express. Polar Express, I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. It is a children's book that many kids have grown up reading. They made a movie of it a few years ago. It is a huge intellectual property for any type of train station. It brings in large amounts of revenue. Again, with having it just be Train to Christmastown,
having it be the same exact pricing that Polar Express was, and having 2 weeks to properly advertise it, we got 10,000 people. With my discussions with Rail Events, and as I provided a copy of the contract that I have with Warner Brothers on Polar Express, we conservatively estimate 25 to 30,000 people could visit the ranch during that period of time. Properly advertised, everything involved with it. There's a large financial burden that's placed upon me. This is so important to me and my business. Before I was at this meeting minutes ago, my investors representative, their attorney, and their accountant were sitting around the table with me trying to figure out what solution we could provide to the county to make this work for this season. We attracted 10,000 people last year. I would hate to lose it and then start back from square one again. I already have on the books about 10 to 12 busloads of tourists who cannot wait to come back and experience a Christmas train at the Stone Creek Ranch. Lake George has already seen what we have done and have started to create, I don't know if some of you are aware of it, the Chris Krindle Mark, which will be a Christmas German village. We will have a shuttle that goes back and forth from the ranch to the Christmas village, as well as to Warrensburg to take part of their Christmas festivities as well. Polar Express drives tourists to the area. They know the property, they've grown up reading the books, they've seen the movies, they want to experience that with their children. This will be grandparents bringing grandkids, this will be parents bringing their kids, this will be school groups, this will be, every demographic has a connection to this. This will be a huge boon to the area. Here's the problem. For us to be able to make this happen, we obviously need to move fast. Like I said, I understand you're in the RFP process, or I am not sure what's going on with that, but I probably shouldn't comment. But I, as a member of the business community who not only represents my own business, but as a member of the Lake George Chamber and other businesses who are trying to become 365 businesses, we are looking for any way to drive more tourism to the area, not just in summer season, year-round. And I can tell you a property like this will do this. And there's a future involved with this as well. Should I be able to prove that these numbers are correct, which myself and Rail Experience / Warner Brothers believe are accurate based off of other properties across the country, there are other properties under the ownership of Warner Brothers that we are talking about licensing and bringing to the area, which would make it not just a dude ranch with horses and you go on some horseback riding trail, a attraction in the area that people would come to from miles and miles and miles away. I cannot get into conversations about what those are, as you saw based off of the contract that you have. I am under certain confidentiality agreements, but based off of the success of the Polar Express model and others, we want to pursue these heavily. We can be a driver towards the community. We can bring tourists to the community. We can bring revenue and dollars into the community. I am a business, I'm a startup. We're a family that runs it. We have all the business, risks, and we run all of the, we have all the problems that any startup has. I am telling you that I have the backing of people who want to see this succeed. I would hope as supervisors you allow us or give us some type of ability to be able to run a train for 30 days so that we can make sure that these buses that we have already had put on hold, people who are already calling us daily asking about when we're going to be releasing tickets for this, so that we can bring them to the area. And that these are not people just from Saratoga Springs, these are not people just from Corinth, these are not people just from New York City. We're getting calls from Boston, we're getting calls from Canada, we're getting calls from all over the region saying, when are you releasing tickets? I would love to give them an answer. So all I ask of you is, as I understand you go through this process, please understand this will heavily affect not just my business, but other businesses in the area that are looking to drive tourism here in what is considered the off-season, which I think will become our new season and make us a true 365 destination. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wild, Supervisor Wild.
Chris, thanks. That was a nice presentation. You just want it for 30 days?
Yes. I want to prove for 30 days that this will work.
Okay. My question would be then back to our team in terms of how much it's going to cost for us to keep it open for 30 days, the interim between now and then. What 30 days?
Looking from the day after Thanksgiving all the way to Christmas Eve.
Okay.
That's what I would like.
expansion of that program also includes very intellectual property for which my son will be going over to England to help secure. And I believe your child has been reading the series of these books that are also on, well, he can't see anything, but I can. It's a big draw. And if we solidify that eerie little train, then that is a thing we can operate on 10 months a year. It will attract people from all over. It's the only one in the United States pretty much at this point. And then we can go ahead and do the Polar Express for the last 2 months. And then we do other themed trains based on dinosaurs and Happy Train, Tommy the Toon Train, or whatever.
I could provide you with a list of other properties that's owned by Warner Brothers that I could license as well. But the big draw right now, and the only one that I'm asking for, is Polar Express for 30 days. And like I said, I met with my investors, I met with their attorneys, I met with their accountants. I've spoken to some train operators who may have approached you and told them my intentions and what it could be. We want to work with you. We want to know what we can do to make this work.
Basically, we would pick up the prorated cost. We know that this is $80,000 a year that we're asking of Iowa Pacific, not that you ever got it, but that you were asking $80,000 a year. We're looking to prorate that for the 2 months that we'd like to operate it, or the 1 month, whichever you would give us. We would take care of the signal maintenance. We would take care of the track maintenance. It'll be on a 25-mile, a little less than 25-mile path between Fairman Station, which we need for both parking and for the side track where we can put the train on the back and move it back and forth. And we have our secondary stop, major stop, which is at the branch itself. We will be catering the train. We will be doing not just the hot chocolates and cookies, but we'll be doing dinner also. That involves a lot of the community. This is not just about our ranch. This is about our area. And then we go on down and we do the...
Chris Krindlemark, Warrensburg Christmas. We want to partner with all.
And the little village that's supposedly Polar Express City type thing. We're bringing in this... To meet, as some of you have seen the contract, there are many things that I need to meet the Polar Express guidelines as for their quality of what they're expecting for their trains. They asked me who I would be bringing in to design the North Pole set. I went to Performing Arts Camp. Many of my friends decided to actually do the crazy thing and go into Hollywood. They ended up being successful. Instead, I went and ran a business. So they have gone off and are on movie sets. I've already spoken to 2 or 3 of my friends. They would take time off from their next Marvel film that they are working on, fly from Los Angeles here to build the North Pole set. Warner Brothers thought that would meet the need that they needed for a quality set for the North Pole. That is accurate.
Supervisor Bramer, you had a...
I'm sure I can get it from the administrator. And I applaud your efforts, Washington. I wasn't able to go. I had young kids who had gone for express in the past. It is a great experience, tourist activity. So I'm open to hearing what you have to say, but I know that we haven't had operators since prior to April, because they really started not being around as soon as they stopped operating last year. The train didn't come. What is your plan for having an operator with trains that will come here that are
I have many options in front of me.
designed to look like...
Rail, I can either, through Rail Experience, they provide trains. It would be at a great cost to me. That is one option. I know there are other train operators who have heard that this is something that we are exploring, that they would like to provide trains for.
Right, we haven't even started that process, though, that you...
I understand.
And, a lot of people, your business, but we're government, we operate way slower.
I used to be a legislative director in the Pennsylvania Senate. I know exactly how fast it goes. And that's why I hate to put anybody in this position. I just want you to understand as a business owner, what concerns I have and what we are trying to do and how we are trying to ask for a 30 days pilot program to show how the train can actually create revenue as opposed to costing the county.
Are you engaged with any particular operator in terms of providing the trains?
I have no contract, I have no single partner who I have engaged with and made any promises with. I have simply said, if you are interested, if you are open to meeting what the county's regulations are, and if you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to work with you as well.
Are you able to tell us who you're talking to and how far down the road you are in those discussions?
I can say there's an individual, Bob Lowe, I want to say, is one individual who I have spoken with. He said he would absolutely be happy to provide a train. I think he was in a newspaper article saying that he would, after the Iowa Pacific failed, that he would like to come in to help to be able to save his season. I was on the phone with him as of yesterday, letting him know I would be here at this meeting today. I said, I'm not sure how this is going to go. I understand how government works. I understand any processes involved with being able to award any type of contract or permit or any type of operation of the train tracks. He's fully aware of that. He has his lawyers on standby. He believes in this the same way that we do. And that's why he wanted to actually be here today, and it was just due to the last-minute nature of it. He could not be here, but I am to call him right afterwards and let him know that I was able to speak to you today and tell you about what our plans are and what we could provide or what we could do to take any type of economic burden off the county for that period of time. You know, where you're looking at right now a $70,000 to $80,000 a year loss plus. I would like to help in any way possible to prove to the county, one, that this should be available for tourism train opportunities. And I think the 30 days for Polar Express would show you that.
And our
Supervisor-
ultimate goal is to go ahead and, just so that you know our background. My background is tourism. If you know who Peter Uberoff is, most of you are of the age that you would know. He was the Olympic organizing chairman for the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics. He is his godfather. He is a dear friend of mine and has been our mentor through this. I have another friend who is personal assistant to the CEO, Bob Iger, of Disney. I told her we want to make this our branch of Disney Associates in this area, yes, and this area, the attraction for the Northeast. And we have the ability to do that. It's been that way in the past, and now we have a golden opportunity because people are staying home in America this year. Canadians are staying in Canada. It's See America First this year. They're not going overseas. They are staying here. This is our time to shine. We make sure they know that the Adirondacks is the place when Christmas comes. You've got the Lake George Christmas mark there. You've got all of the hotels involved. We can do this. I used to write the airline brochures. I know about travel marketing. I know how to market it. I was associated with many of those. I used to write the United Airlines, TWA, Pan Am, etc. I wrote the brochures, the travel product. So we know the marketing. We've got good advisors with us. This can make this area that we would like to be effective by which that happens.
If you could pardon me for the repetition, I think you mentioned 25 miles would be the length of this Polar Express train. Well, from where to where?
The ranch to Corinth, we would also need the Thurman station in order to be able to do a switchback in case we had to move a car around. So the Thurman station is about 3 miles away from the Stony Creek Ranch station. So we would just need that open for us in case we had to rearrange some cars, move an engine around. So that is the area that we're talking about.
And we would take care of maintenance of the restaurant, we'd take care of the plowing of the parking lot at Thurman, and we'll take care of
Obviously,
the...
And I do have a comment comment was, it's an intriguing proposal. The county has options. We're not sure about what our options are preferable versus other options. But to move forward, I think there's a couple of things that I would like to see. One is a longer-term business plan and referencing some of these other opportunities. I don't know if we can do non-disclosure agreements or not, but that would be one of the things I would like to see. And secondarily, I know Supervisor Hogan is right in front of you. She may not ask, but I would like to see if we could incorporate something with North Creek also.
I would love
The
to.
extent of our line. So I would like to see if we could incorporate
President of the
something.
United States was inaugurated there, so I don't see why that shouldn't be.
But
There's a movie that's
I
just
can't-
coming out.
But they are doing a Roosevelt movie, and yes.
They're doing a movie on Teddy Roosevelt, and he was inaugurated on that train somewhere between Stony Creek and North Creek. And so it has the right to be designated as a historical monument or historic place, so that we can get that protection for that train ride based on that. And now they're doing a movie with a big movie star,
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Martin Scorsese.
That's their next one.
So if I think about this and the options we have and the decisions we need to make, it's a timing situation
Yes.
for us. It's a timing situation for you, it's a timing situation for us. So if this does pan out, right, that's what I was thinking about from the business plan. What kind of timing, okay, this year we might get a sense, how much longer before it starts to spread to North Creek and other parts of the county? It's a risk, right?
So
This
this
is
is
a risk.
everything's a risk.
Right?
And
Government's risk adverse, we need to find a way to see if there's a way to make that work. No?
That's why I sat down with my investors, representatives, lawyers, and accountants to see what type of risk we could take. And we want to take a risk. We
We'll
believe.
put together a business plan for you. I can have it ready within a week.
And we can speak with you independently. We can.
If I may, just one other question. You need to make a determination on when to move forward with this.
Yes.
I imagine. And there's a time when you have to,
September.
September 1, September 30?
Seems like it's...
September.
Let's
take
say,
the fifth.
we, as much as it is a deadline, in the business world, as we always say, when a guest comes over and asks you for something that's impossible, you say, we're going to do the best that we can. September is what my business associates agree with. We're going to do the best at what you provide us with.
If we need to consider something, we move it at snail's pace, moving backwards. Right? So it's just good for us to understand if we do think that this is a viable option, is how we need to move.
Mine too. Is there any...
Again, it's a 30 days,
Okay.
and I'm asked for, even if it's a special permit or something that we could talk about, please let me know what options are available.
Well, I think our attorney and administrator have got to review this and figure out, I don't know if you would like to speak on that, Mary, that this process, because it's a little unusual.
I mean, I don't think we want to speak on it right now.
Okay, all right.
We would be interested in reviewing anything that you'd like to provide in writing, particularly if you have an operator locked down and engaged.
If I have an operator locked down and engaged, would it be more inclined to be able to assist, for us to be able to swiftly make this happen?
I think we would be more informed, certainly, as to what you're looking to do and in a better position to analyze the legality and the process that we need to follow to make it happen.
We can make that happen as early as this afternoon.
Okay.
Supervisor Molino.
Intriguing, very interesting. We always look for that. I'm chairman of Warren County Tourism, involved in that Christmas thing. Love to see it happen. I don't feel there's any reason why. We've just got a budget of $70,000 to maintain the tracks for the rest of this year. There isn't any reason why we can't move forward. There's a lot of troops on that $70,000. Then from there, by January, February, come back and say, look what we did,
Exactly.
what we want to do again next year, but 3 times as big,
Exactly.
that's what we can make the biggest. You own the tracks, we got everything going. There's really not a lot for us to really get involved in to get that going, just to help them say yes.
That's just what I need as a bus.
We can lift that financial burden off your shoulders.
I think
Am I gonna be
more heavily in debt than I ever thought I would at the age of 36, you bet. But you know what? We'll do it.
If I may,
Yes.
you know, you guys did drop some names, maybe some letters of reference.
I can provide those to you.
You can buy those too?
I can provide those.
All right.
Buy them, provide them. They said they would put something together by this afternoon. We can have it. Attorneys be in touch with you to discuss any type of technicalities or legalities that we need to get over. But they are ready. Thank you. Thank you.
Back to the budget.
Back to the budget, yes. We need to go back to the budget.
Mr. Chairman, I thought you were supposed to, no, never mind.
Close to what?
Have this organized in a clean running oiled machine and all these
Last
different
minute.
option, last minute stuff. I'm teasing you.
Okay, thank you. So we left off before we had our executive session discussion on Mr. Ajos's budget.
I make a motion to move it to the Finance Committee for further discussion.
We did do it?
We did that?
Yeah, but then you rescinded, didn't you?
Well, but Dennis,
Now you're back.
Dennis overran me,
Okay,
over.
okay, I'm sorry. Okay, that's it. We'll move into DPW.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item that we have for new business is a request to transfer funds for part-time salaries. Each year in the summer months, we hire temporary employees. During the budget process last year, these temporary salaries were placed in full-time salaries, and they should have been placed in part-time salaries. So this is just a need to correct for the accounting and for the treasurer's office.
Make a motion?
Supervisor Frazier, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
The next new business is a request to authorize a contract with National Vacuum Environmental Services. This is a term agreement we typically use in case we need to remove sludge or waste from any of our fuel systems or fuel tanks throughout the county.
Someone like to move that? Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. Any discussion?
Question, if you don't mind. Kevin, is this like an annual task that we go through every 2 years?
For the contract, yeah, we don't there may be times we use it, maybe times we don't use it. It depends. We typically get that sludge built up in the diesel fuel tanks in the winter months. We'll recognize that. Some of the trucks won't run properly. That's when we typically have to go in there.
So this is our equipment, this isn't sludge that's in our farm,
No,
fuel
it's
farms and
in our
stuff?
fuel farms.
Okay,
yeah.
right. I'm all set.
Okay, if we're ready for the question, I'll call it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
No referral or pending items this month. Under information for discussion and review, I just wanted to touch base a little bit on the household hazardous waste days from last year as well as from this year. I just received a letter or an email from DEC that state that our reimbursement request for last year's 50% of the total cost of household hazardous waste should be received within 2 to 3 weeks, and that I received that email on July 10th, and that was for approximately $9,887.98. This year, I spoke a little bit about the Household Hazardous Waste Day, or it was spoken about at the board meeting. We did have an issue with the contractor that came in this year. It was the same contractor we've had the previous 2 years. The issue was they set up late, it backed up traffic. We had asked that the contractor or vendor waive the setup fee, which they have for this year, to compensate for not being set up on time. We had approximately 77 participants at the Queensbury Household Hazardous Waste Day. We only did it there this year. There was a discussion, I think, back in maybe February, January, as to, we used to hold it in 2 spots, one in Warrensburg, one in Queensbury. We decided that Warrensburg we would probably do every 2 years because the participants weren't that great last year. I think we might have had maybe 30 vehicles at the most. So in the collection this past Household Hazardous Waste Day, we collected 50 gallons of antifreeze, 600 pounds of solid pesticides, 150 pounds of fluorescent bulbs, 1,400 pounds of other miscellaneous household hazardous solids, which are oxidizers, acids, and bases, 700 gallons of hazardous paint, which could be stain, polyurethane, or oil-based paints, 100 gallons of liquid pesticides, and 300 gallons of other, again, household hazardous liquids. The last thing I have under, or actually it's not the last thing, the next thing I have under the information for discussion is construction projects. So far we've completed 3 for this year. Those 3 projects are Old Stage Road, East Shore Road, and South Johnsburg Road. I brought photos to be handed around. Any questions on the projects, feel free to ask, but those are the 3 projects completed as of now. Right now we're working on Landon Hill, which has Binder Down at this time, and Valentine Pond Road is the next project to be started, which was supposed to start this week. Of course, with the weather, has put us behind a little bit. The final item I have under information for discussion is each year or each couple years, we update the TIP, which is Transportation Improvement Program, with DOT as well as with AGFTC. They're doing a solicitation right now for projects, pavement preservation projects for next year. Warren County only has, I think, 12 roads that are federally aid eligible roads. There's only 2 outside of Queensbury. That's Peaceful Valley Road up in Johnsbury, as well as Amsterdville Road up in Pottersville. For next year, we've submitted for 3 roads. I'm not sure which one of these will get funded or not. There's approximately $2.1 million between us and Washington County and Upper Saratoga County. The 3 projects we submitted for were Sunnyside East in Queensbury, Sunnyside in Queensbury, as well as West Mountain Road. As you recall, last year we finished up the last West Mountain Road project, and that was approximately $750,000. And the last items I have are the DPW overtime report, as well as the fuel usage reports on the back pages.
Mr. Wild?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Kevin, I noticed that you have the average and median with the overtime, but you also have a average minus high-low in some of the other reports. And especially in this month, and the prior month, June and July, there's some outliers. Can you put this, also add that minus high-low in this report for the overtime?
Could I add it in there?
Yeah, just add another row.
I could.
It kind of takes out those outliers,
Okay.
right? Because it's a big outlier. You know, in this month, last year it was 1,000, whereas the average probably is, you know, significantly less than that. Take that outlier out.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anything from the committee? Anybody else have anything to say? Motion. Mr. McGowan?
Are we able to discuss what we discussed last night up at Cornell? Or did you
I
already
spoke
discuss
to
it?
Kevin.
Okay, all right.
I
I wasn't sure if
They did a great job working on, you know, in the work that they have done up there. We've had a good report on, you know, between the glamping and Cornell's activities, and everything's good.
Positive reviews.
Good. Awesome.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second? We have a second?
Second.
Second.
Nobody wants to
All in
adjourn?
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Hey, Kevin, just wanted to ask you